Welcome to DPX-AI. I am Larry Vogel, and I will be your host tonight. Let's get started. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. There's Robin. So everybody, welcome to our April 25th DPX-AI meeting. I've already lost track of how many we have done. I guess I could go look at my folders, but I still feel like we're kind of fledgling what we want to do here. Like I've always said, I'm open for suggestions. I mentioned to Greg the other day, I was I got a message from one of the meetup groups that I had a new member, and so I go, oh, okay. So I clicked on their name, and it went to a page, and generally it shows what other interests they have or what meetup groups they belong to. And this person belonged to this. It was just, I think it said Southeast Photo Club. And I'm like, well, that's pretty generic. Southeast of what? It could be anywhere, right? And so I looked up the Southeast Photo Club. Oh, I know why. So Southeast Photo Club, 3,000 members. And I go, well, this is a healthy photo club. Let me go see who these people are. So I clicked into their page, and they are in Georgia, I believe it was, Southeast Georgia. And so I'm figuring, well, 3,000 members, it must be every photographer in Georgia is a member of this meetup group. But then it's actually a club, and they were using Meetup as a way of hosting some of their meetings, but also announcing, what the next club meeting was going to be. And they said on their thing, you might be a member of the Southeast Meetup group, but that does not make you a member of the Southeast Photo Club until you pay your dues. So apparently they had this weird thing about, if you weren't paying your dues, there were certain things you couldn't go to. But they had listed this event coming up that I thought was an interesting event. And I thought maybe this is something that we can kind of test market here on the DPX AI. And I've actually done this idea, and I've seen it done several times other places. So apparently there's 3 people in their group who must be fairly well-known photographers. And so the 3 photographers, each one of them are submitting like a raw file into the bundle. In each one of the 3 photographers will end up with 3 images, one of their own and 2 of the other guy's images. And then their goal is to process all 3 images, and then at the meeting they go through and sort of show the layers they did, show the images that they created. And obviously I think the point is when you see the end results that it's sort of that point that it's not always what came out of the camera, it's the interpretation of the file and what ends up coming out of the computer on the print. And it's never been any different. I mean, when we were doing darkroom days, I mean, the Ansel Adams Moonrise print is probably the most famous example of here's the straight image and here's the final version. And also, he printed the image for over 40 years, and so there's several variations of that particular negative that he printed as a print. And because he's a musician, he always used that phrase that the negative was the score and the print is the performance. And I always like that because I mess around with a little music my own self. But the idea too is I think for any musician, it would become infinitely boring if you had to play that song the same way every time you played it, especially for these guys that go out on tour and got to play, night after night after night. So the idea then, is doing that interpretation. Like I can see on Kaz's shirt, he's got a Rickenbacker headstock on his T-shirt there. All right. So anyhow, this idea, I think I would like to. I'm gonna try with the group, with this group, and what I will end up doing is I'll send out an announcement to the entire group. To which, I think right now I was just gonna look unless I think I closed it. Oh no, I put it down here. There are what did it say here? Get back up here. There are. I guess we got to get back to the main page. 146 members, And so
Oh,
all 11 of us are here tonight. So this is this is the usual foundation that happens. I think my other DPX group, we've got over 900 members, and the same 12 to 24 people seem to be the constant source here anyhow. But so anyhow, I thought maybe one thing that would be interesting to try, instead of giving everybody a file in true form for DPX-AI, I thought it'd be interesting to maybe create a common prompt, send the prompt out to everybody. But the idea also is you're not obligated to use the prompt just as it is, but the portion of it that we give you needs to be used in generating something from that. So whether you do it, from a third-party program like I'm using Mid-Journey, but there's Dolly, and if you have a subscription to Photoshop, but I'll just do a quickie thing. I mean, then you also have a subscription to Firefly, so you could do it inside Firefly, or you could do the prompt directly from inside Photoshop if you want to. But I think but again, the idea would be to sort of take that beginning prompt and sort of run with it, and that's really kind of true to form when you're working with prompts anyhow. As you put in what you think is going to work, and the image comes back, and you go, okay, I'm gonna go back in and modify it and change it and alter it and let it grow. And then I think the second half of this is that hopefully that people will maybe take the image into Photoshop or whatever you're working with in terms of processing images and further alter the image, inside Photoshop. And so, hey, the goal is to put this out. If I already had done my homework today, I would have an idea for a prompt, or if anybody wants to think of one before we're through tonight, it'll end up being on the recording, and then I'll also mail it out to everybody, so that everybody will have it like as soon as possible. You'll have a month to play with it, and hopefully we end up with more than two of us doing it. So that I think would be interesting to see. And my hope is that it might bring some of the other people that haven't shown up out of the 146 who are signed up, might go, oh, hey, I'm interested in trying that, and maybe we'll have some new faces, and it's kind of an idea. So this is not a democracy; it's a dictatorship. So I do not need to get a vote from all of you to say, yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to put it out there. We'll see what happens. I think it'll be fun if everybody decides to jump in. So if anybody comes up with an idea for a prompt, you can either say it or type it into the chat, and then that way we can all sort of copy it from there. And maybe we can look at it at the end of the evening. I'll look at the chat and see what we have in there. I always use an example. There's Jim Deese. Jim was at our meeting last night. I did a presentation for North County Photo Society, AI presentation, and it was fun. It was a good one. It's always one of those things where it's on the topic is like you really could have used 3 hours. So in 1 hour, you really have to kind of figure out what are you going to do with 1 hour. So we spent a little more time with the Photoshop, functions. And which, by the way, by the time I got this presentation together for North County, it was like 2 days ago, I started seeing a bunch of new things already being posted, YouTube videos and stuff announcing a bunch of new things that are now in the beta version of Photoshop right now, that already upgrades are happening to AI. So expecting within the next so many months that they'll start showing up into the regular version of Photoshop. I jumped into the beta thing a long time ago when they first started talking about the AI tools, but I normally don't play with the beta that much. It's like I'm too busy. I want to seriously work. I don't want to beta test for somebody. There's a million people out there that love doing that kind of stuff, but I was anxious to get sort of a head start on the AI tools. So I did do it last time, but I haven't been doing it this time, but I have watched a few videos, and some pretty cool things are going to happen. I mean, right now, like I say, you can generate images from inside of Photoshop, but and I don't know if anybody's played with Firefly. I've done before where I've gone into Firefly and put in a prompt, and then from Photoshop I've done the same prompt, and they say that the AI engine inside Photoshop is using Firefly in the background. but I'm going to say I don't believe it, because the images are always better in Firefly than they are in Photoshop if you just do a prompt and fill a screen, fill an image. So I don't think it is the same. But that is one of the changes that's coming, is that Firefly will now be accessible directly inside of Photoshop. It's in the beta version, but it will be in the regular version sooner. They didn't say when it was, but it'll be interesting to see. So you won't have to even leave Photoshop to go generate images in Firefly. You'll actually pull up a panel that has access to, it looks exactly like Firefly, where you can put in the prompts and select all the information that you want to tag on to your prompt and stuff from there. So that'll be interesting to see. They are doubling the resolution, so I think they already have on Firefly to 2048. It was 1024. And so that was kind of my presentation that I did last night, was really more focused on how to use the Photoshop tools and get the best, advantages with it, since it does have limited resolution problems, where like most of our images are 3 or 4,000 pixels wide. You're looking at only being able to generate 1024. So if you extend a canvas out, or you select a selection that's as big as your image, the details just won't be there. So the object right now is just to do them in 1024 sections and fill the sections little by little, and put the whole thing together, so you end up with a higher resolution solution. So there you go. So anybody been working? I'm going to say, well, I think hopefully within Photoshop, a couple people sent in some images for tonight. We'll take a look at those in a minute. But anybody working with any third-party stuff, and if you just want to go through and say, like I said, I'm using Midjourney. I know Greg uses Midjourney. Are you using anything in addition to Midjourney?
No, other than Photoshop.
Okay. And Kaz?
I'm using Midjourney and Affinity Photo and CAD software and Painter.
Okay, so Midjourney is the main source for doing prompt. Okay.
AI, yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
I'm only doing Adobe Firefly and Photoshop.
Okay. Don't say only.
Well, I'm not ready to do. I want to do Midjourney, but not until I'm ready.
All right. Fair enough.
Have time to learn it.
Yeah. It's like anything. There is a little bit of a learning curve, I guess I would say. At its basics, it's kind of like Firefly. You're putting in a prompt and getting an image, but there are some things in Midjourney that can help you increase the odds of getting what you're looking for. There are things that you can add to your prompt, like you can change the aspect ratios. You can, the coolest thing, I think, one of the things that I would love to see, in fact, I don't know if Greg showed the images on our AI night, but I think I saw some of them in your phone, where oh no, you did show some, I think the last couple of times ago, where you're putting in some of your own images into Midjourney and then using blending multiple images together, and that to me is just such a really cool function. I still haven't been able to identify, like this idea. I can put two of my photographs. I wish I had two like really handy here. I guess I kind of do. I have no idea what I'll get from this. Let me go. Oh, these are for critique night. Let me go back here. So from my presentation, okay, so I have this guy. I didn't use him last night because I was short on time, and I think. Let me see. I'm gonna have to create a JPEG of one of these. Let me see if I actually have a JPEG.
Larry,
go ahead.
I also like the fact that there's a way for you to use one of your images and then it tells you what a prompt would be to generate it.
Yes.
Describe.
So the describe function. Yeah. So for my title slide, I did this, is AI the Holy Grail of photo processing, And I forgot to mention to the people last night that I don't actually own a Holy Grail, that this was generated by AI. So this, and then in fact, I was talking to Jenny ahead of time and she goes, yeah, but wouldn't a simple carpenter have a more simple cup? I go, oh, you buy into the dialogue of the movie, do you? So what I will do, because let's see, so I have that as a JPEG. So I'll just copy that, and I'll put it into here. It'd be interesting. The ones that Greg showed me before, you did an orchid and a bird of some kind. Was that
Oh, it
right?
was a lily. There was a lily, Easter lily, and a egret.
Yeah. And man, it really was cool that it took that sort of lily shape and it added it to the wings, and and I was wondering if it was like what maybe made it work really well was the idea that the flower is white, the bird is white, and is that what it, because it didn't really alter, it didn't feel like it altered the colors of the bird image much at all.
No, and the background of both was green plants, and the white of the flower and the egret worked together really well. Sometimes when I put in disparate images, it gets really chaotic, but
Okay, I'll copy this.
that was probably the most congruent one because they were similar and they were similar aspect ratio.
Yeah. So that
And I,
also, well, it'd be interesting. That it is something they do say on that particular function, that similar aspect ratios do help. So, and here I go. I'm going to use a vertical and a horizontal, but we'll see what happens. So, so the function inside of Midjourney. So again, Midjourney sits inside of Discord, which is a platform for gamers, and there we go, installing updates. Seems like I just did this recently, but the platform that supports Midjourney is this Discord platform, and I don't know if who else has set up Midjourney, but it's like it seemed like this was the most confusing part to me, was because I didn't have Discord ahead of time and all that. So, but there's lots of videos, YouTube videos and stuff about getting set up properly. And there's even a really cool thing that I would definitely recommend, and I actually picked it up from I think his name is Phil Steele. Hard to say very fast. Here was my search for my Holy Grail image as I was working on my presentation. I was actually going to use a guy too holding the thing, but I ended up not using that. But when you get into Midjourney, when you come in, so it's a subscription based program, and at the lower level subscription, which is $10 a month, you end up working in these sort of general spaces. So right now I'm in just general one, and you can scroll through here and see what everybody's doing, and this is the part that I think freaks out a lot of people, because realistically, like in this case here, this person has generated this image. The cool thing is it's kind of interesting to go in and read prompts here. A cosmic fisherman utilizing the power of the planet Neptune, sci-fi art style version 6.0 is the one that he's using. So it's a great learning tool too, to say, oh, let's go in and see what people are generating, the results they're getting. So here, this one here, a little more photorealistic than the other one, but so he starts off with for photorealistic, four people taking, I think he meant to say talking with each other, diverse people, to have a yellow card in their hand and the other two people have a blue card in their hand. Don't know what he's looking for, but as you can see, it didn't really pay attention to his card and hand cues. But the amazing thing is, the other thing it usually doesn't pay attention to is numbers, but it did. It gave him four people. Sometimes you'll get one, sometimes you'll get six. I don't know why sometimes the numbers are confusing. But anyhow, the idea is you're working here in a space where you can see what everybody else is generating, and also, I mean, you can be a dick about it, and I can go here, I can say open in browser, and I can actually download this image. I can save this image for myself. And so people get a little freaked out about that. It's like, well, wait a minute, I'm making all this stuff, and people can just take it. And it's like, well, yeah, just like the rest of the world, they can take stuff from anywhere. The thing you can do also, though, is you can copy prompts too. But what I found out through this guy, the Phil Steele's site, um, you can actually for under the same $10 premise, you can set up your own space, which I've done here, and I'm not quite sure. I mean, everybody doesn't have access to this space, but images that I do create end up into sort of the mid journey. There's a public domain space where you can go look at a gallery of images there. And so, I mean, I guess anything even that I've done in this private space would be available there. If you pay for a higher level of membership, you can actually work in stealth mode where nobody has access to your files. So they would have to wait till you post them, then steal them from you. So I think that's the big difference. But I don't know. I think we spend too much time worrying about people stealing shit from us. But I understand though too of the whole thing about losing people stealing copyright and all that kind of stuff is the greatest way to actually achieve anything legally is you basically have to prove damages. And I go, I can't sell my own shit, so if the other guy can sell more than me, I'd like to meet him because I could use some advice on marketing or something. So anyway, and somebody goes, you're just being way too cavalier about this. But anyhow, so the couple of the ideas. So one is, let me just downsize this just a bit so that I can actually, it's easier to drag things in this way. So, and actually what I should do is let me downsize my bridge and I'll just place it, come on, drag it over here. So it's off the screen, and then I can see my two JPEGs. Okay, so what one of the cool things. So one of the ones that Kaz was talking about. There's down here is where you put in your prompt. With this, it's a little different than Firefly in the sense that you have to begin with this / and then these are common prompts that will pop up. Imagine is the one that you use just to type in a prompt like you see in the images here. The one that Kaz was talking about is this one describe. And so under describe / describe, I can drop images in here. So here's a window now. I can drop an image in there and I can add another one to it also. But I'm going to start with the Holy Grail thing and ask it to describe this image. And the cool thing about this is that you, so let me just hit enter. You can use this as a great way of learning the language of the bot, the AI, whatever you want to call it. So what comes up is there's my image, and here are 4 prompt selections. So this is golden chalice with ruby gemstone on the bottom, actually kind of the middle. Background is illuminated in the style of light rays from behind, dark gold and white colors, blurred medieval setting, fantasy style detailed, aspect ratio 85:128. I must have cropped it or done something weird to it. The second one is golden chalice on a stone pedestal. That's pretty good description. A red gemstone in the center. That's better description of the cup. A holy light shining down from above. The background is dark and blurred with a bokeh effect. A detailed image of an ornate design etched into the golden metal. High resolution photography, hyper realistic, cinematic in the style of an unnamed artist. Well, interesting. Golden chalice, number 3, with a ruby gemstone illuminated in the style of golden light from behind, resting on an ancient stone pedestal in the style of fantasy, mystical background, detailed and ornate design, soft focus lens, golden hour, lighting in the style of fantasy, art cover illustration, magical aura effect, high resolution, sharp details. Number 4, golden chalice with ruby gemstone on the bottom. So they went with the bottom again. Sitting on top of an ancient stone pedestal. You got to lower your voice and get a little more mystical. With golden light radiating from it in the style of fantasy. They've all used the style of fantasy. With a magical aura and blurred background in the style of high resolution photography. So interesting is this actual image is a combination of 2 or 3 generated images, I believe. So if I come up here just to sort of look at my prompt, if I get So this is the one where I actually took the cup and the stone from. And alls I put in was the Holy Grail. I didn't even get like really, crazy about it. But then this one up here, I really loved the background, or a few of these, and I was a little more descriptive. The Holy Grail, rays of light falling on the Grail, shallow depth of field, version 6.0, aspect ratio 2:3. So anyhow, I didn't really, I mean, it's funny when you read their description, way more descriptive than mine. But again, a great way to kind of learn the language. Now, the interesting thing about all of this descriptive thing here is you can actually now generate using all four of these, any one of these. And so I just have to click here and say, I'm going to go with the one that said gemstone in the center. Let's go with number 2. So it'll now generate a new image. I have my prompts set up so that when I'm generating something from my other thing, it gives me a chance to go in and change the prompt. I'm just going to submit it like it is. So it'll go to work and it will start to generate an image based on this description. And it's always interesting when you try this, is to see how close it comes to replicating this original image. So while it's playing with that, I'll go ahead and try the other one. So the / and the blend function here. So go ahead.
Larry, are you referencing the original chalice or not? Not
No,
at all.
only the prompt that it generated from that original
Only
one.
the prompt. Okay.
And you'll see, this is the interesting thing when you show people they see this. This is sort of the whole pixel blending and everything that's happening in the background. And the idea that, putting in that prompt means that it's actually searching the internet for an image that looks like that, and it's going to steal it from somebody else's website. You'll see that now that it's done, it didn't even really steal the one that I started with. It generated, 4 new chalices. The background has more blue in it than the original one. This is pretty cool with the light on the rim. So at this point, what you would do is they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can upscale, which means it would give you a full res image, upscale from here, or you can ask it to create variations based on any one of these 4. If you want a larger view of these, you can say open in browser, and you'll get a little bit more of a view here. So what I really like about this one is that it did place it on the stone. I was playing around with other ideas when I first started this. So let's just for grins, I'll go ahead and say pick number 2 at this point. So I'll say upscale number 2, and it'll go to work on that. So, and it's actually the upscaling now. Do you notice that, Greg? The upscale is like, bam. It used to take longer for it to do these things, but so.
Yeah, if you're not doing variations, it's almost immediate.
Yeah. And in here,
upscaling.
again, you have another option to upscale again, and asking it to reinterpret the image. You can use subtle or creative, so it'll go a little bit stronger, or you can ask it to repeat the image and vary the results. Subtle, strong, and then vary region allows you to take that image, and you can actually create a selection, say around this stone here, and then I can put in a prompt here to tell it to put in a red or blue ruby stone or whatever, or I can add things to the background too. So I'll just skip that for now. But you can do all that in here which I could also do in Photoshop. So to me, that's the real cool thing, is sort of this hybrid approach to creating artificial intelligence images. And as most of you know, I'm doing photo compositing with my own photographs too. But the idea is you can spend all day struggling in here to get a green stone, and you may or may not get it. Or is it just easier to take it into Photoshop and ask it to do it using generative fill? You can also zoom out by 2 times. It doesn't give you more resolution, but it just it's like expanding the canvas in Photoshop. Or you can zoom out 1.5 times. You can do a custom zoom, and you can also do this pan left or right or up or down. And so it'll add more to the top, or it'll place the object to the left or the right or up or down in the new version. And it's supposedly.
And that actually.
Go ahead.
So that actually makes your resolution lower, because it's a 1024 pixel image now, and then it's going to add more pixels,
right,
but it's still going to be a 1024 pixel image.
So the chalice,
your chalice,
is actually smaller. Yeah, not a great thing to do, really. Yeah, I mean, and for me, the solution is more to, like I had shown in my presentation last night, is the idea of doing sectional pieces to upscale edges so that you get a full resolution. So at this point, I'm going to drag the chalice into one of those. I'm going to drag this guy into the other one. And you'll notice down here now it says 2. I can add 4 more. So you can keep going. And the idea is that it will take the images that you drop in here and blend them together. And you can, at this point, if you wanted to, you could also add in like some new dimensions. I'm going to leave it it'll probably make it square since they're kind of off, but we'll see. So I will just tell it to go. Oh, it's going to want me to do, why is it giving me that? Dimensions, portrait square. I'm going to go with portrait. Let's see what it does. And, all right, there it goes. So right now, so on this image, since it's already sort of rezzed up, I'll just say open in browser. And from here, I'm going to save the image. And I will tell it to put it into the same folder that I'm using for the night. So DPX-AI 2024 April, and it'll have this big long. It tries to put in as much of your prompt to let you know which one to use, but there was much longer than that. But I'll just say save. So while that other one is working, it may be done already, but let me bring this over here. So as an example, then, the new one that we just created, if I look at the metadata for this, oh, it's not going to give me a size here. Why isn't it doing that? So it's 1.57 megabytes. Not sure why it's not showing me. Let me see down here if it does it. The dimensions. Yeah, there won't be anything in the camera. All right, I'll have to open it to see what the pixel dimensions are. Should have had Photoshop already opened. Oh, it's going to go to beta for me. Okay, well, didn't want to do that, but for some reason my PNGs must be linked to the beta version in here. I didn't change that. That's one of the big pains about Bridge is like every time you get a new update, you have to go into properties and make sure all of your associations are set to the right place. Real pain. But all right, so image, yeah, all my bad stuff. Image size on this. So let's go to pixels, please. So this is 1344. So it's a new version of, yeah, we know. So this is 896 by 1344. So it's not even TK Magic Mixer. Yeah, well, I could get all these announcements. So that's the largest this one here is. But if I go back here and I ask it to do the upscale, and I'll say upscale subtle, and we'll let that run. So here is the blend of those two. So I now have the chalice setting on the rock with, this was, the other photograph was taken at Whalers Cove in Point Lobos. So the chalice has now been set into Whalers Cove at Point Lobos. So that's the blend function that you can get. And then you could ask it to do variations, and you could add other prompts to it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the blend thing, and so this has always been sort of my question about this, like, and I know Kaz keeps rolling his eyes every time we have this conversation. Like, are we still really, still trying to figure out what is this still a photograph, not a photograph? What is it? I've kind of landed on the idea that this has become mixed media because I started with one photograph and I started with one AI generated image, and those are blended together. And Kaz says one. No, he has a point.
No.
Yeah.
I use, from now, what I've been doing lately, I've put some stuff into, submitted some things, and I just call it mixed technologies instead of mixed media.
I like that even better. That's pretty cool.
Mixed technologies, and that means I'm using who knows what. I use CAD software, I use AI, I use Photoshop, whatever.
The funny thing is that, I mean, this talks about our sort of, again, our sort of human brain existence of loving to put things into categories, right? And it's like, well, it's got to be something. What is it? There are people that are using the term synthetic photography, and so, which I think is an interesting. So I mean, this to me is like, so every intention here is for it to maintain the photorealism. I haven't turned it into made it look like a painting or whatever. So there's that. Oh, let me do the open in the browser. It'll be bigger. So there's that idea that, I keep falling back on that old phrase, and this might be the exception to the phrase anymore. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. I go, but if it looks like a photograph and it sounds like a photograph, it must be a photograph. But I go, I don't know. I don't know if it is. And so, this is the thing that becomes the big question, where now we're combining real photographs with synthetic photographs and adding all kinds of things, to create the final image, which, to me is kind of, I guess, maybe the mixed media argument or not. I don't know. Mixed technology. I like that idea. I think most people would go, well, what the hell is mixed technology? Everybody wants to argue something.
Technologies.
Z's.
Technologies.
There you go. Technologies.
Plural.
Pluralized. All right. So this was my redo, or is it? Yeah, this was my redo upscale. So if I go here and ask it to save the image, I'll save it in the same place, and we'll see what we end up with. So save there. Oops, that isn't where I wanted to save it. Upscale. That's weird that it went to a weird folder. Oh, it went into my downloads. All right, I don't want to do that. Usually it maintains wherever you started. It keeps going back to the same place once you get started, but it didn't do it this time.
It actually doesn't for me. It always goes to downloads.
Really?
as a default.
Mine, once I pick a folder, it seems to stay there for the duration.
Huh. Session.
Maybe not. Maybe not anymore. So 2024 meetings, April, and save. All right. So let me find my bridge again. All right. So this. Yeah, interesting. So that was weird on the vocabulary here on the upscale was we did the upscale subtle from there. Interesting. So if you look at the two images, so there's the first one, there's the second one. There's a little, I can see a little changed a little bit in this texture in here, but it's didn't really change it much at all. So the first one, this must be the first one, 1.57 megabytes, and this one is 5.67 megabytes. So now if I open that one in Photoshop, the upscale on this one made it 2688 on the pixels. And the first one was how many? 2688, and the first one was...
It's like half.
Yeah. Yep, exactly half. So, so you can at least out of Midjourney, you can get to twice the size by using that upscale here. I haven't tested yet because I've been mostly using like Topaz Gigapixel to res up the images. So it would be interesting to take that first image and res it up 2 times and compare. I think it would be sharper through the Topaz Gigapixel because part of the res up also includes some sharpening. So it would probably be sharper than what they're doing here inside Midjourney. So it might be a waste to even deal with it that way.
Yeah, I've found that after because you can do that upscale again, and it'll add a little bit of detail in certain places, but it doesn't necessarily make it a better image. And I've found after one upscaling, exporting to Topaz, or exporting and saving it and then opening it in Topaz, I get better detail typically because it starts throwing in weird artifacts most of the time after that. But it depends on the kind of image and the kind of detail you're looking for.
Right, like this is pretty super detailed, so it'd be interesting to see. So, oh, wait a minute. So this is actually, is this the newest one? Where did this one? Yeah, no, this was it. I thought, but this one looks, does that one look different than this one? Wish you could do a side-by-side in here, but Guess you had to wait to get it after you export it. Yeah. No. Yep. Pretty much same thing. So anyhow, that's kind of the fun thing. Actually want to export the other one just to kind of put them in there side by side of the this one. So I'll need to upscale one of these. I like this one. I don't like the light on the side, but I also don't like all this other crap. So I'll do this one anyhow. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
So what happened to the guy in that picture?
Yeah, I don't know. He was replaced by the chalice. Yeah.
It was
And what if I wanted the guy with the golden light coming down on him? See, that's the problem with Midjourney.
Yeah. So, but there is a way to do that. So when you put in the two images, you can tell it which image you want to favor the most. Yeah, no, it doesn't seem to make a difference which order you put them in. What is that? What is that called, Greg? When you
Weighted?
Yeah.
waiting.
So you can weight one image over the other so that it uses it as the primary source. So, I mean, that's one way to try it. You can also add into the prompt.
It's adding 2 colons, and like if you wanted the first picture to be weighted 1 and the other one to be weighted 2, so you'd say URL number 1 ... or colon 1, and then the second image colon 2. I think something like that. There's a
so there is like Judy said. So yes, there is a bit of a learning curve because there is a language here. And again, if I go here, there's a shows help info. I think it's this help page. There's a page you can get to that shows a whole list of all these things that you can use to enter. So here they are. So basic commands, extra options. So you can hit this link and it will take you to a page full of things, and it shows you descriptions of an image. So if I open this, let's see if that's the page I'm thinking of. So they're called parameters. So aspect ratio, so --AR, you can say aspect or AR and type in a 16:9 or whatever ratio you want to give the image. That'll control horizontal or vertical also. Chaos is to change, here it says change how varied the results are. So between the images, if you enter more chaos, so the number is 0 to 100, so you go --chaos and you use 0 to 100. Usually says here what the default is, because if you don't enter anything, it'll default, and I forget what it doesn't say here what it is. Anyhow, it's how varied each one of them will be, or more unusual they're calling it, or unexpected generations. Character reference, fastest override. There's
image weight.
Yeah.
Yep.
So sets the image prompt. So you get 0 to 2. So sets the image prompt weight relative to text weight. Default value is 1. So if you don't do anything, they're equal. So you can say you want.
So do you have to use integers?
0 to 2. I don't know. Can you do in betweeners? Greg, do you know? I don't know. I've never done anything to weight them.
1.5, 1.75.
I don't know. I don't think it would be interesting to find that out. And you can also use no now, a negative prompting. So like if you're getting things in the image that you don't want it to include, you can say -- no plants, like they use as an example. Quality. So here are 0.2, 0.5, or 1. So it's how much rendering quality time do you want to spend? So it uses up your GPU minutes faster if you do that. Or style random. So what is it? Where's the... Add a random 32 base style random tuner. You can also use style random 16 --. I've never used the random thing either. Relax is just the mode you set for repeat, so you can ask it to repeat a job you've already done. The seed thing is a bit weird. You have to actually go in and find the seed number. So with the seed number between 0 and whatever this number is, several million. What it does is it creates sort of a starting point. And some guy said, I remember seeing a review where one guy said, If you find the seed number, because he goes, this, by all appearances, everybody believes this is so random that it will always generate something new. And he said, but it's always related to the seed number. If you could find the seed number, it will generate the exact same image that you already generated. And it's not true because I did it. It still randomizes the results, but what it does is the seed number is where its beginning point comes from, that it understands. If you want it to get closer to the image that you created one time, you can use the seed number to get it to, using the same seed number and prompt will produce similar ending images, not exact. Then this other guy said this is the point that tells you that it's out there copying stuff, because you can get it to make the exact same image twice. Like, I've never made the same image twice. Style. So styles are, again, you definitely want to use the style: cute, expressive, original, or scenic. You can kind of add anything for styles. So anyhow, there's a bunch of things there's a lot of stuff yes, that you could learn. But as you saw back on my, chalice thing, I made some real simple prompts in the beginning, and you still get pretty decent results. It just, as you get more descriptive, you start to get a little more control over, I'm going to say more control, maybe more interesting images. So what was I doing here? Oh, so did I save that one? Yeah, boy, Greg, you broke my machine. It wants to go to downloads all the time now. I was going to say, I've never had that happen, but there it is. I wish somebody would create something that would. They try to put those shortcuts in here. Let me see, cancel. Let's see if that actually works. I don't. Sometimes it doesn't. So save image. DPX there. Let's see if it actually works as a shortcut. Bridge. Yep, it did. So I can use the shortcut. There you go. Quit your bitching, Vogel, and figure it out. So, so interesting. The background, is I would say, similar, but it's definitely not. Let me roll this over. Come on. So there's the original background, and here's this one here. So it was interesting because of the other one having a limited depth of field, and this one really didn't. This was in focus pretty much front to back. It chose to do that. And also, if you remember the prompt, it mentioned that the background was soft before, so I guess it recognized that in the original image. I love too, if I go back to this guy, so here's the two images that created the one in the middle. So the rock creation looks, it's funny because of when I photographed this place here, there's a location where the rocks, you're actually standing down on in the sort of the bay area or the cove, where there's a lot of rocks sort of piled along the edge of the water, just like that. Not that it's seeing it, but I thought it was interesting that it interpreted this rock as a pile of rocks, which seemed, there's a couple in the photograph here. And then it took that light, more or less, and put it off camera. Huh. Interesting. Anyhow, that's kind of a little bit of fun inside Mid-Journey, I guess. But I know what I wanted to try, just as an example. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to copy this prompt, and let's see if it'll actually do it for me. Control C. If I go back, I'm going to open up the regular. I should have, since the other one was open, I was going to open the regular version of Photoshop. I guess not. It's going to come to here anyhow. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in fact, I'll just create a new document, and I'm going to go with, let's go with a vertical. Doesn't matter what size it is, really. All right, I'll say create. So inside of Photoshop, you can start with just a blank document like this. Select the entire, Control A. So select the entire document, go to generative fill, and I'm going to try pasting in. it did. So I copied the exact same prompt that I put inside of Midjourney, and I'm now going to ask Photoshop's generative fill to use that prompt to fill this space, and we'll see what we get. It'd be funny if it created the exact same thing. There's no way it will, but
Not even close.
and that'll be the interesting thing too. If we're doing this sort of prompt challenge thing, it's going to really depend also on what people are using. So much more cartoonish looking. So just for grins, okay. So this is supposedly supposed to be the there was hyper realistic cinematic style. So just for grins, I want to pop open Firefly here, and I'll put that same exact prompt into Firefly. Come on. All right, so here's our prompt. And it's interesting, I don't know why it just starts off in a generic space. It's going to give me 4 of these. Then I can come into here and I can fine tune it. So in this case, I would want to tell it to make it a photo. So this is what this did. But let me just, for grins, it actually did do a photo. So let me hit generate again based on having photo down here. So there's the exact same prompt. I'm making sure that it's doing a photo-based image rather than some other version. And I could change the aspect ratio here too. So if you just look at this result compared to the result that came into Photoshop, I'm telling you, I don't have the confidence. Now, where did my Firefly guy go? I don't have the confidence that it is actually doing. I lost my file. There it is. That it's actually using the same engine here as the one inside Photoshop, because it almost always has that dramatic of a difference. Skip tour, please. So anyhow, this is way worse. but also, even looking at the Firefly version compared to the Midjourney version. So let's go with, which one do we like the best? We'll say this one here. So I'll say download this. Promoting, well, what is Adobe's committed? Oh, this is that stupid credential thing. Continue. All right, so where do you want Firefly? It's going to throw it into my downloads no matter what. I'm going to ask for it to put it, hopefully, into the same place. And of course, it's not on my shortcut. Here to here and here, April, and why is it not? I don't get a save button. It's just weird. It's asked me where does it want to download it to. Cancel. I wanted to download this one. Save as.
I just copy them out of the browser or the app into Photoshop and then save it where I want it.
Yeah.
Because it'll continue to remember where I was.
All right, so that's the version compared to Midjourney. There you
go. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not horrible, but it definitely lacks. To me, feels like it lacks the sophistication of
personality.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Huh. All right, so that was that little journey there. Let me close.
Try using the Midjourney version as a reference for the Adobe Firefly.
The only thing is that reference to in Firefly is for a style. I mean, you could definitely try that. So let me get back to. That's not it. Where'd my? You're just intentionally creating a rabbit hole for me here, aren't you? All right. Um,
Well, I found that it really took the reference picture to heart.
oh, really?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't just the style; it was the actual object.
Well,
When I
did not keep
when
my.
I wanted the style of that sketchy looking that um, sketch art of the owl, it tried to put owl features onto my
Oh, yeah, I
horse
remember you
picture.
showed that in the one meeting. I don't know why this thing also doesn't open up to that full. Does anybody use Firefly much?
I've been trying to, but it's yeah.
So this is Firefly's
Well,
little gallery where you can actually read their prompts. How they use this prompt to create this word, and you can actually copy it and use it too. Um, text.
You guys are way, way ahead of me.
Well,
I haven't done any of this. All I've done is generate a few things on my images.
yeah, we're gonna
but
look at those in a minute. Structure, style. So are you?
And I
Did you drop it
up
into the
too
style? Oh,
late.
here's a reference. So upload. So you did in this
So
reference.
like I had so uploaded a reference.
Okay. So let me.
But then
I'm gonna try referencing.
is there more than one place to upload a reference?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I put it in the wrong place.
Well, so one is here in this reference, and the other one is up here further up here. You can put one in here.
Oh,
A structure.
yeah, it was up there.
You did it in the structure.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what it does.
Maybe that was my mistake.
So I'm going to grab it from the.
Can you have two different references then?
I think it only lets you do one.
Hmm.
Where's my good one? There it is. That one. All right, so I'm going to put my other mid-journey chalice here. About up on a structure, match, particular outline, depth, blah, blah. All right. There it is. And generate. So let's see what it does different. Yeah, Joan, this is a lot like learning, in some cases, it's like learning Photoshop all over again, but not really. I mean, you start getting things right away. Yeah, so still not a.
I'm overwhelmed right
This
now.
is actually a little closer, maybe. So let's see if I eliminate it from here this time, and let's bring it in.
Yeah, put
here.
it down in the
So let's see what happens here. And generate.
And what kind of reference is that? It's like
reference it's a reference image, so it should match. It supposedly match color, style, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, a lot closer anyhow. Took the bokeh stuff, but I don't know why it keeps coming up with this giant stone. It loves the stone more than the rest of it.
yeah, stone just keeps getting bigger and
Right.
bigger.
Funny.
And less round.
But this is actually these results I think are better than the initial one. But so that's an interesting thing, and this is something that I think also goes back to the the complaint about AI stealing my images off my website. And I thought the funny thing is because even with this right now, whatever AI has done to become the tool that it is. I can go to somebody's website and copy an image off of their website and throw it in here and use it all over again as a reference image. I mean, nobody would know that I did it because you can see the results. If I saw this, I wouldn't go, "Oh, they took that directly off of my chalice that I did inside Midjourney." But the idea that we can grab, I think once people put stuff on the internet, it's over with. It's out there. It's fair game. I mean, you're trying to protect stuff that's unprotectable. What are you gonna say, Judy?
Well, I did that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got kind of into you too late. I just downloaded it as the meeting was starting.
Oh, okay.
So, or Dropboxed it to, or whatever, Hightail. But that's what I did. I used a reference that I got off of the internet.
Yep.
and used it as a reference.
Well, and as well as, in Midjourney, all of those images too. I did one a while back where I wanted to see if it looked at a Jerry Yulesman photograph, how would it describe a Jerry Yulesman photograph? And it was great. I mean, it really looked at the image, and it's one of those things like trying to like describe something yourself. It's amazing. Again, back to how good it is at looking at images and then describing it back to you, which then becomes a prompt. And I did it like with the Jerry Yulesman photograph, because like I said, I can grab an image off the internet from anybody's website and I can throw it into Midjourney, ask it to describe it, or I could ask it to blend it together with one of my own photographs. There's a million ways to go with it. All right, let's look at is Mr. Paul Lawrence still awake? The answer is no. I don't.
Just barely, yeah.
There he is. All right. Boy, I downloaded it.
Oh, you've still got the ones from last
Is
time.
that what it was?
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what I had so many things. So what do we?
Yeah. So let's start with that one.
Langston.
Langston.
All right.
And as I fiddle around with this, I realize that I'm most interested in using the AI as a brush. And seeing what will happen with it as a painting tool.
So explain that. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, rather than having it generate, and I'm not doing too much with prompts, rather than having it generate an entire image, I'm taking an original image and then possibly circling portions of it. If
I'm gonna close.
we go down to the original this is the first time I've seen it look like a chalice, which is kind of cool.
I was closing.
If you go down to the original, yeah, just show the original of this. I started off there, and this is a straight photograph from a Zoom meeting, and Langston's feed was a little wonky. So,
Oh, really? That's what's creating the whole ghosting thing?
yeah,
Oh, so you're doing screen capture off of a Zoom. Yeah, here's the Zoom controls down here.
right.
Wow. That's a cool
And
idea.
I just loved what was coming over, and then I decided to play with it. So I'm sure that I circled some of it. Went through.
So wait 1 second. So this is using Zoom to do the blends. So he's got a background loaded into Zoom to use as his background. He's playing the
and he doesn't have a
guitar,
green screen.
and it's doing a crappy job. Yeah, no green screen, so it's doing a crap. You know how you get all that sort of fading in and out around the edges, and you did a screen capture.
Exactly.
This is brilliant, Paul. I just think this idea. I mean, this is one more thing. Is like, gosh, there's so many ways to generate images, right? I mean, that's just. I would have guessed that this was like a bad Photoshop composition. Like, wow, you just really didn't
I
get the
keep
head in
looking
very
at it,
well. But
Yeah.
what a cool idea.
I saw this. Well, I saw it as the guy is painting himself.
Okay, that's where we're
I
headed.
didn't even see the guitar.
That's where we're
Yeah.
headed. Yeah.
So this was where it started
Yeah.
originally.
That's where it
There's
started.
a
I get
layer
it.
with some saturation. So this surrealistic look. So what did you use to generate? Well, let me go back one. This one says surrealism. Oh, it does change. Okay, so the first one that has a name on it says surrealism. So what did you do to get to this point?
So that was I just highlighted the entire frame, and then in the TK9, you don't have it on yours,
Yeah,
but in the
it'll-
TK9, there's that.
In fact, let me just,
Yeah,
I'm going to do this right now. I'm just going to close this. Don't save it. Let me open my regular version because it popped open that other one earlier. I guess it was a PNG file that made it associate it to the beta version. So yeah, the idea that Paul's talking about is this TK panel. It's a free one that you can get. Oh, is it free? No, you have to pay for. Oh yeah, no, this is a free one, right? He did a new
think this
panel
was
now that
free.
you have to pay for. All right, now let me open this one of yours, and we'll get in there. So there's a whole thing, and I think, and actually the painting thing is probably the best example of how the panel actually works. And so here's the TK panel. And what it's set up to do is to use variations of a selection. So by default, you would do, it would be 100%. And so if you just did, and I've shown this before, but just for the sake of people who aren't here, if I selected the whole frame here, and I'll just close this panel just for a second so you're not confused. And if I said generative fill, and I want to turn this into an oil painting, and I say generate, the problem is that, and this would be the equivalent to using the 100% on the TK panel. So and there's a bunch of ways to generate these percentage selections. His panel just is kind of like an action that runs the whole thing for you, so you don't have to even think about how to do it. One way to do it is using the so there you go. You get a literal rendering of an oil painting that has nothing to do with the context of the original image. So this would be oil painting prompt at 100%. If I go into his panel and do the same thing, and I say oil painting, and I say let's do it at let's say 20%.
20 is nice.
Yeah,
it's a good.
And now I generate this. Now what it does is it tells the prompt that I've made a selection of my original pixels, and it has to pay more attention to those original pixels. So instead of just generating paint blobs, it's actually going to render a painting from that will look more like his. So there you are. So now you have paint blobs that are based on your image because we asked it to keep a percentage of the pixels from the original image there. So that's kind of the idea, is that from 100% all the way down to 15%, you can choose which variation you want to do, and you'll get completely different results each time, all the way up to the point where your painting has nothing to do with the prompt at all. So this is what Paul was saying. He was using, and this Kuiper panel is available for free on Tony Kuiper's site. So if you just Google his TK, I think.
Yeah, I've been using it a lot. I like it.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
But,
so let me turn these.
But I'm still trying to figure out how to get smaller brush strokes.
Yeah, so you might be able to work that into the prompt. I don't know. Have you played with that?
Yeah, I've tried, but it
doesn't seem to.
Doesn't it usually me?
And so since you didn't put, there's not. I don't know why. Originally, when the TK panel came out, when you selected a percentage, it actually put it into the. So surrealism was your prompt. It usually put the percentage in here so that you could actually track each one of them. So I always try to remember. When it does it, I'll put the percentage in here. It used to do it. I don't know why it's not. I might try reloading it and see if it goes back to using it again. But so anyhow, you're saying
I don't know.
You selected the
It
entire.
seems like when you go with.
Go ahead.
The smaller. It seems like if you make a smaller selection, the brush strokes will be small. You know, have it at like 15 or 20%.
Do them in sections. Oh.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know. So. Paul, you're saying, so then you made a selection, you used surrealism, but you don't remember what percentage you used, or do you?
It was probably in the between 20 and 40, but probably I usually start around 20.
Okay.
And then also, since it gives me 3 options, I can save each one of those options as a layer, and then choose what I like from each option. So I think the hand was better in one thing. The guitar may have disappeared in another. And something happened with Langston's forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe in a third one. And then I can either continue the generative fill from one of the options or go back to the original and make layers from that. So I'm kind of mixing it all together and, of course, throwing in some Topaz Studio 2 painting.
Wow, this did a cool thing with the hand. The painting strokes there are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Modernism.
And then the guitar went away, which I thought was just great.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, yeah, I thought you did that.
I did
No,
too. Yeah.
I
So
may
it just
have
did it for you.
I may have circled it, but I don't think so. I may have circled it and made it go away, but I don't honestly remember because I did this a few weeks ago.
So then these are masked sections that you're using. Part of the
There was
palette.
some schmutz on his hand, and then the brush showed up. That I did not do. It just showed up, and I thought, this is brilliant. I've
Wow.
got a guy painting himself.
Right, right. Yeah. So AI is looking at all the paint stuff. That was weird because when I saw your image, I thought, oh, you just did a prompt and asked them to, kind of do the Escher thing of painting myself, kind of an idea. And then
So that paintbrush just showed up all by itself, huh?
Yeah.
so let me
and
go
then
back. So
That's
the one
the
so the paintbrush is here. Let me open this up so I can read your thing here. So the paintbrush shows up on Modernism, Impressionism, just as number 2 copy. So you didn't really type. Is that the actual prompt that you think you remember using?
Yeah, it didn't type number 2 copy, but this may be modernism, impressionism, and this may be one of those situations where I was using 2 or 3 of the generated,
Hmm.
or 2 or 3 of I might have generated 6 of them, and you wound up keeping 2 of them, and then that white spot on his hand eventually got touched out, and that's what some of the
Uh huh.
masking is,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
some of the other shit around there.
Wow. Pretty cool.
That's genius.
So anyway, I
Wow.
thought this was the most interesting of the 3 I
Yeah,
sent.
yeah. Let me jump back here now. So that's the group. What was this one? The upside down image? Was this one that you sent
Yeah,
last time?
yeah,
Or
I don't think I sent that last
oh,
time. I
okay.
was going to, but I didn't. And this is just one prompt, and it's a bridge, I think,
It looks like a dock
which
from here.
a dock, yeah. And I put a prompt in which changed the way it looked, and then I turned it
Uh
over,
huh.
and I just liked
So
it.
let's just go back for grins. So you think you used a painting prompt in this one also to go from that,
Oh yeah, this was. I looked at it
obviously
earlier
cropped, maybe?
today, and it was some sort of painting prompt from the suggestions in the Kuiper panel.
Yeah. So that's another cool thing in the Tony Kuiper panel, because we have access to Firefly. This little inspiration button here, if you click that, it opens up a whole panel of additional prompts that you can choose from. And he actually grabbed all of these out of Firefly. So these are selections you can make inside of Firefly. The ones that I have marked here in gold, and actually here it did recognize you have down oil painting as a selection in there.
Oh,
So when you
okay.
select one, it turns that blue color. And if you have ones that you like, if you right click on it, it'll highlight it in gold so you can find them in the list a little quicker. So you have access to movements, art movements, neo-expressionism, pointillism, blah blah blah, themes, cinematic, anime, all those come up as an option. And so what happens is, so his see, I just hit cut paper. Let me go undone. So you had down oil painting. That becomes the prompt. So if you've typed in a prompt, then these things become extra. They add on to that. So if I say cinematic, and you'll see it just keeps adding the words up there. When you get done here, I'll just Gomori. Who knows? Does anybody know what Gomori photography is? GOM.
Yeah, but we can't say it because we have been cautioned
I
about
see.
saying things
It
like
sounds
that
Japanese
during
though.
this meeting.
So rather than Chinese. Gomori. Anyhow,
I've been using that cut paper one.
yeah, and I think
I didn't even know it showed up here.
I've seen several of
I
them.
just
Yeah.
The Japanese monster. Yeah,
Was that Gomori?
that's the monster, the
That was-
Godzilla.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of a thing.
All right. So yeah, you say okay, and what it then does is it adds it into the prompt thing down here, and then when you hit generate, so let's just for fun see what it does with the.
You still have to choose, or you should
Oh,
choose a
yeah,
percentage.
it'll do 100%.
Otherwise, you're going to get something pretty
Right.
exciting.
All right. Let's see if I can do a cancel. All right. So let's go ahead and do a 40 and generate. So we added cinematic Gomori styles to it. I mean, one of the things I did in my presentation last night, I talked about this idea that, yeah, there's a lot of people who don't have, any photo background. That's interesting. Not in a great way, but people that don't have photo backgrounds or don't have artistic backgrounds or haven't done, creative processes their whole life, like most of us have done, that are out there just, typing in prompts into Mid-Journey or these other things. And I've always joked about the roller skating bear eating an ice cream cone. And I think about some of these things like what an insult to artificial intelligence. It's like if you had Picasso in your studio, would you go, "Oh, great idea! I got a great idea. Picasso, paint a bear roller skating eating an ice cream cone." To me, it just seems like what a disrespected thing to do, right? So anyhow, that's my rant on people creating just dumbass
Hey,
images.
he might have come up with something genius.
Yeah, but yeah, he'd probably first slap you across the face, then maybe do it. But anyhow, the point that I love though is, and this is the sort of as time starts to people are using this process and more creative people are using it, they start to find these other more creative uses rather than roller skating polar bears or whatever. And I mean, to me, as an example, I think what Paul has done here, taking a screen grab with this weird sort of like green screen thing fading in and out, and then adding that into the rest of the process here and coming up with something just totally out in left field from where the thing even started from. This is pretty creative use, I think, of this technology. As wow,
Incredible.
Thank you.
very
Incredible.
cool, Paul.
Thank you.
And I like the use of this one upside down for sure because it really, really does abstract it. Other than the fact that this still feels, you get the idea of water in here, but I love the idea that I'd be hard pressed to know what it is just from this one if I hadn't seen the original. And I need to flip it still. That's the way you sent it.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
Looks like a spaceship.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, what happened to my words? There we go. All right. And then Joan.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Joan, is Joan awake?
I'm still here.
Oh, good.
My experience with the generative fill is very limited, but I'm so excited about what I heard tonight. I can't wait to try
Excellent.
some of these
Yeah.
things.
So this was your straight image?
This was my straight image.
All right. And
then I did use generative fill to eliminate all the black things, the lights, the so forth,
yeah, weird.
and the chair, and the lights hanging
Some of this
down,
must be
the fire.
sensor dust spots, huh?
Yeah,
But those,
yeah, all
okay.
that. I mean, it's amazing just to eliminate stuff like that.
So,
And then I just
go,
generated a sofa and a modern painting and a red door handle.
so something happened in the generating of the sofa where it didn't blend it or scale it to fit in, or if you rescaled it or moved it. So this is one of the problems you run into. I'll just open this image to start with. One of the problems that you run into doing all this generative fill stuff. So let's just say if I said let's put a sofa. Oh, oops, I need to get a right tool here. Cancel. So we'll say let's put a red sofa in the space right here. And we'll go generative fill, red sofa. Oops. And generate. One of the problems is if you want to move it, because what generative fill will do, it makes use of the initial selection that you made, um, and that somewhat controls the size of the object that it's going to create also. So that's actually pretty cool. It made a little wrap around, but you
Oh,
end up with
well, so
these three versions here. All right, so let's just say, okay, we like this one. If I decide that I want to move this sofa to another location, the problem is you can see what's around it, right? So it's still, because in order for it to blend in and fit into that space, it mimicked the arch and the molding and all that other stuff. So if you were to move it forward and rescale it, so if I transform this to get a bigger sofa up front here, it's going to have this, and actually, and in this case, let's go ahead and do a flip horizontal. Um, let's put it over here instead. So you end up with all that stuff moving with it. It's doable because I've done it before where I've ended up with objects that I really liked. But what you have to end up doing then is adding on to this mask. So if I took a brush with black and start painting out the other stuff that was generated, that you're just trying to move the sofa, and I don't want to see all the molding that came with it. So you basically have to, go ahead and employ
Right.
your regular Photoshop masking skills. And so now when you move this thing around, you're just moving this. Well, I didn't paint all that out, but you're moving just the sofa that got generated. And I kind of feel like maybe that's what happened on this was, because see, this doesn't, it looks like you scaled it up maybe or moved it. Do you remember?
Right. Well, I said in the dialogue, I said generate a modern sofa against the left wall.
Okay. But somehow this edge, because it would do a better job than this. It wouldn't have left the wall up high.
Oh, right.
It wouldn't have covered up the corner of the window. All of this stuff would have been.
Oh, well, what you have to use the other photo where I took care of all
No, I'm
that.
saying this was yours, and this is what it ended up generating was the sofa, but it feels like it was rescaled or moved because it doesn't really fit into the
Right.
photo originally. So I would look into that and see. So that was the example I was saying here is that if you have an object that generated and you're going to move it, you'll have to paint out all that other stuff. So even like on this one, if that's the case, then you'd want to, just put a mask around the sofa so that you didn't see this other stuff that was part of it. And then the painting, same thing, you asked it to generate the painting, or did you put it in the photo?
No, I generated the painting.
So it did a pretty good job with
And then
the
eliminated
distortion.
I scaled it to, go with the, transformed it to fit in with the.
Okay, so that might be again. It's hard to tell here. It actually.
Got a lot of lighting.
Say it again, Kaz.
Yeah, it's got a lot of lighting problems. The light on that painting doesn't look right. It's uniform across the whole painting, but the wall isn't uniform.
Right.
The light on the wall, so there's a disjunct.
Yeah, so
It doesn't work that well.
so it could be
Same thing with the cat.
again if it's moved from another location or wherever it was originally generated, or if it was smaller. All right, and then
Well, I generated it on this, I had a square, I generated it on the wall
huh,
of not this picture, but the second one. The
Right.
one-
well, I was just gonna say, so if I did a thing here and said, okay, generate, we're gonna say, I don't know what your prompt was, but I'll say modern oil painting.
You can really see the gradient in that wall right now.
So we'll see what it does.
Much darker.
All right, we'll just do it just like that. Say generate. So what it's going, and because generative fill or AI will pay attention to the lighting in the room, And hopefully when it does this, so you can see I just generated a square. I didn't make any sort of distortion in it at all. And that's weird too, that it's not actually showing up. There it is. So yeah, it didn't fill it on the wall there, right? That is odd that it would create this.
What
It
if you were to
doesn't
copy the
necessarily
window?
need 3D space.
Well, my thing is really acting up goofy right now. So, oh, I can see it. When I see this black line, that means it's getting ready to crash. Let me restart it. Oops. So let me see if I go here. Hopefully it didn't change. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe I need to choose a more realistic selection on that wall there. It normally wouldn't float it in that space like that. It seemed odd.
Larry, could you copy the shape of the window and then reframe it
Well, that's what I was.
to make it smaller for the painting, and then put a variable ND on it?
Well, yeah,
Uh,
if you wanted to go through all that, but the hope is that Mid Journey should figure all this out. I mean, Mid Journey
Yeah.
AI should figure all the lighting out for you.
You're doing what I would do
Right. So
right
I'm
now.
suggesting that it actually do it in this shape. Now we'll see. So again, we'll say modern red painting. I'm going to say in a black frame. Let's see if we get even more specific here. And this also might be one of those cases too where if I did use the Kuiper panel, that it would be more specific, by using a lower percentage, that it would be more specific to fill that, pay more attention to the wall.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
it
good.
followed my shape. This is the black period. um, I asked it to do
The lighting
I
is
asked
still
it to
kind
do
of
a
whack.
black frame, but it actually did some kind of a little weird inset. So somebody built a custom niche for my painting. I appreciate that actually.
Nice.
So interesting, yeah, that it in that case had to use that specific shape, and it really shouldn't, because I mean you can use the lasso tool just to, like, make a shape here, and maybe I need to be more specific about it. I'm just gonna say painting on a wall. And actually, let me do it this way. I'm going to copy here, and I'm going to go to, let me see if it'll let me do this midstream or not. And let's go with 40% and generate. Because you can be pretty random about the shapes, but there you go. So it actually, wow, that looks more like a
that's
Joan
cool.
painting, the white on white stuff that you always do. Wow, look at that, frameless even.
It,
Oh,
it,
wow.
it's doing a better job with the light
Yeah,
as well.
this one has glass on the front
Yeah.
of it.
It's much better than those other
Interesting. And
ones.
it was an interesting thing, yeah. And so again, that goes back to, let me try this again. So if I turn this, let me turn it off. I will just load back in the same selection. Go back here, and let's just say do the same one at 100%. And so you see what he does on the panel is he kind of mimics the percentages based on the value, that magenta value. So at 100%, there's that, and we'll say generate. And let's see what it does.
You said painting on the wall, so that's not going to be like a painting in a frame unless you
Well, it
specify.
made a frame. This is so this is at
Oh,
100%. So you can see how less accurate it is about fitting into the space. That's
Right.
pretty weird. That's a weird frame, right? So again,
oh,
if
that
I
is a weird.
take again the same selection, uh, and we'll go back into the panel and we'll say let's do oops, not that one. Go into the panel and let's say do it at I'll go all the way down to 15%. And that's probably what made the other ones more white because of the white wall behind it. It's using the color palette probably as part of its um, generation.
That's why it works better, I guess.
Yeah, it's picking up the shading from the top to the bottom. And that's the whole thing, the thing I always am trying to impress on people too is that, yeah, see, that low you don't even get a painting. All you get is some weird, well, there you go. You get a ghost painting. So for this particular prompt, and really playing with these percentages, you really have to start kind of like just, oops, I don't want to do that. I'll put my prompt back now. You kind of have to start playing with these percentages. So let me reload my selection.
So the lighting on the couch was not good either. If you made the percentage lower
Right.
on the couch.
Yep. And this is the interesting thing because when generative fill first came out, the only instructions you got from Adobe was like circle a space and fill it in, and nobody ever talked about these percentages until I saw of videos where people were trying to turn their so like here it's picked up the lighting from the window and everything. The So people were trying to generate the painting effect over their own photos and things, and at 100% you're just getting these blobs of paint. And then somebody figured out, they go, oh, wait a minute, so if I make a selection and say let's see if I can just draw a space here, actually a little bigger. So I put a space here, and this is kind of the way that the way around this. And this is if I always use the Kuiper panel, but so somebody figured out that if you open up the quick mask mode and then bring up curves, well, it doesn't want to do it that way. Image, adjustments, and curves. And you bring up a curve, so this is not an adjustment layer curve, but an image adjustment curve, and you change the percentages here by altering the space. That would be 50%. So at 50%, we would say okay, and then you go out of quick mask mode. I don't know if this is going to work or not, and I'm going to do it in here, Control V, and generate. I might not have followed the directions right.
I think
It seems right. But anyhow, somebody figured this out about how you can start making selections that are more transparent, where it's using your pixels. So I didn't mean to even do oil paint. I was going to do a desk. But anyhow, that's the idea behind it. So somebody figured that out about generating a painting from your photograph. And then as it turns out too, like in this case of the painting too, that as you start working with these different percentages with your prompts, you get completely different results and better actually. So that idea of trying to create selections and create an object somewhere, if you don't want it to look like it's just dropped in, like you brought in a piece of clip art and dropped it into the photo, because that's the way that a lot of the generative fill stuff looks, that by using those percentages, and again, this is a free panel to use, so you don't have to do that whole long way around the block to do it. So again, I'll just try putting in a desk this time, and I'll use Kuiper's. It seemed like if I went too low, it becomes too white. So let's go with 60%, and I'm gonna say desk. Let's go with a modern desk. I'm at 60% and generate. But yeah, this panel is definitely, and like I say, it's free. It's worth getting. That in order to be able to play these percentages, if you're going to use generative fill in Photoshop, because it definitely makes a difference. There we go. Not bad actually. Here, so it's playing off of the light off the window. It's showing up with the light.
Cheap Walmart model.
There you go. Anyhow,
IKEA.
all right. So, all right. Oh, and I was gonna. So the last one is the red handle on the doorway. Yeah. And do you remember what you put in for that, Joan?
I just said generate red handle on door.
Okay, and I think this would also be another case where using these percentages in Photoshop. So let's try that. If I just made a selection here, and then say I'll leave it at 100%, and go red door handle. This is like another one of those Photoshop tools that's going to take you didn't even make it red, but here they are here. So this is like pretty similar to like just that weird sort of red color, right? So if I go back, let me reload the selection. I'll turn this one off, red door handle, and we'll go with it at say, well, 60 seemed to be pretty good on the thing there. So we'll try 60 again and say generate. Hopefully it, because there's an interesting shadow on the door there too. So hopefully it pays attention to the lighting a little better than the one at 100%. No red. That actually looks fairly realistic as far as a Chrome handle goes. But see, we didn't get the red door handle. So you could say, let's just try it again, generate again, and see if it pays attention. Now, and we've talked about this before on the AI meetings, that up here in the properties panel, it regenerates or generates 3 every time. Yeah, so none of them are red. And wondered if we come in here, you have the ability to throw it away and say no, crappy results. You also have an opportunity to say good, poor. So I'll say poor, and then they're going to ask you to do a report back. So they're asking you to kind of help train AI. So I would use this for my project. Strongly disagree. The results match my prompt. Strongly disagree. Results look believable. So very strongly disagree. I don't even know what the hell that thing is. Results blend well. No. And then submit feedback. But if you had to do this on every image, it would take you forever. So the question, though, is doing that, saying like, okay, that looks like a decent door handle. Actually, this one, that's a backwards door handle. But by throwing these things out, is it telling it that, like, okay, this is closer to what I want? Generate again and see if we get closer. So these are things I've never heard. I don't know. I've never heard anybody say, yeah, do that. But it seems to make sense that if you're telling it. So I got more red results this time anyhow. Neither one of those are very good. And I suspect that it has to do again with that percentage again, right? So if I reloaded this and went up, so I was at 60, let's go say to 85, generate, and see what comes up from that. But you know what's interesting, Joan, about so see now it starts getting really red. So there's somewhere between those percentages that's going to play with the right opacity of that red that you're getting. We'll let it go with that. Even gave us a gold one instead. But it's interesting that when they talk about jobs that are going to be replaced by AI and all that going on, one of the interesting things now is in the real estate business, maybe about for the last they've probably been doing it on high-end real estate for a lot of years, but more recently in the last 10 years, somebody created a whole new business that was just called real estate staging. And if the person's already moved out and the house is empty, the house doesn't show very well. People come in and they can't imagine their furniture or this is a living room or what is. So they would hire somebody to bring in furniture. They would rent the furniture for that time until the house sells. And so Now photographers are using AI to do the staging, so they'll just go in and photograph the house empty, and then come through and hang paintings on the wall in Photoshop and put in furniture. And so there is a job that somebody figured out. Like, oh, wait a minute, we could use AI to do this. We don't have to haul that friggin' furniture down there. We can just add bookcases and desks and sofas. But yeah, you're gonna have to learn how to do it so that it looks good. You don't want to waste all the time doing.
Right.
I mean, this actually came out pretty amazing. But they'd be going, "What is that? Is that like a window, or is that not a painting?" Or all right, cool. Thanks, Joan. Did somebody else? Did they just sent? Judy, you said you sent something.
Yeah, I
You
sent
said
it.
you said
You think they're not large,
yeah, they should download quickly.
but there's
So
quite a few of them, but they should go fast if you want.
download all. See, in here it goes directly back to the right place. All right, so let's go new folder. Judy. Open. And save. All right, and then the other one. So that was 4 files. Well, here's the other one. And
Yeah, I sent them in two groups because one is the origami horse,
all right,
and that
let's see what we got
And-
here.
which kind of where I first started, and then I went on to
Oh, I
a
had Greg's
composite
here
using
first.
my own.
Let's jump in and look at Greg's.
Oh yeah, yes. I thought there was
Uh,
somebody else.
No cuts.
so,
man. No
what
cuts.
order do you want to do it?
No cuts. Sorry, Greg.
What order do you want to do these in, Greg?
The first one,
Larry did it, not me.
no, it's okay. I'm just kidding.
I'm dying to see yours.
The one with the computer, I want to
Okay.
go over first. So there's no AI in this. This is a photograph. The photograph of my computer with my hands on.
But you
So,
have AI hands.
I did this in response.
That's funny.
It was in response to a conversation with Joe Nalvin about AI and the fair rules and whether you could take a photo of somebody holding an AI generated image and put it in the fair.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to go on Midjourney and I'll make this image of an artist engaging with a computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put in a prompt, something along those lines, and generated this image, and then I put it on my screen, and then there really is no AI involved in the actual photograph. Yeah. It's a straight photograph. It hasn't even been altered in Photoshop. So
well, you can tell those hands are AI.
But I shot it 15 times, and then I thought, oh wait, the hands have to be tweaked.
That's great.
So it would likely be thrown out of the fair for looking like AI, and it's the shitty photo.
Right.
But
that's funny. What a great idea.
I want to put this one on the judges.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, and this is such a great comment on that whole problem of judging these sort of things, right? So, because you could easily be wrong in both directions, right? This is not AI, but you're going to throw it out because you think it is. Something is AI, but it looks so believable, it gets put through because it got past the judges, right? So it becomes really an impossible task for the judges. But yeah, I think you should.
I had thought about doing one with Magritte's pipe, saying this is not AI, and have a
weird hand,
the same sort of weird hand or something,
So I thought it was a fun exercise, and I would hate it if somebody tried to spoof the judges this way, but I feel like as a judge, and especially because we're doing the AI panel there and we're going to be talking about it, I want to start with this photo too, and just to ignite the conversation. And I want to put a statement with it, and saying this is, it's this whole resistance is there. As the technology comes along, this has been throughout history, and then this argument that we have about this show is about photography, photographers, photographic processes using our own pixels, and I did that,
Right.
and it's a
And it would
photograph.
and it would most
So
likely backfire. That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then if we can put it on the wall with a statement
Yeah.
uh, about this, just to get people thinking about where do we draw the lines, where do we limit ourselves as artists, where do we limit ourselves as photographers by saying we can or can't do this, or I have to think too much about what I'm
Right.
doing in how I work because I want to put it in the fair and I don't want to get kicked out. The good news was when we judged on for Tier 1 on Saturday, Lois did say, use your discretion as judges. People are going to be putting some of this stuff in the show, and it's up to the judges to use their discretion, as has always been the case. I mean, if it's obviously a photograph generated completely by Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or something like that, you have the right to kick it out. The rules are somewhat ambiguous, as they've always been, and at least we can use our discretion, which I think that's all good outcomes for where it's gotten to.
Yeah.
They're willing to look at things and willing to leave it in the hands of the judges, because the coordinators can't get involved in
Right.
that.
Yeah, great. I love this. I mean, all you need is a title. This isn't AI. That's all.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you. That's better than what I got.
Yeah, just think it'd be.
Hey, Gray, better be careful. You may be disinvited along with
It's
Larry.
happened.
Yeah, you better watch it.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm not trying to. I've had a number of conversations, and we'll have a lot more conversations about this stuff. And I'm not trying to go overboard. And they can always say no, and I'll be okay with that. But yeah, I think it starts a conversation that several conversations that need to be had, and just kind of continues the conversation we've been having for 20 years on this stuff.
So this just supports what I was saying earlier. Yeah, more just the creative people get involved in the process, and stuff like this happens. I think this is such a great idea. I mean, it's such a commentary on the moment we're in right now, right? I mean, I just think it's great.
Wow. So then the other image, there's the final image, which is AI, and there were three. It was a blend.
Okay, so there's one,
So
two.
there's the three source images.
So I have two source images.
There are.
There should be a third.
Oh, there were three in the email.
Interesting. Let me look back.
Should have been four. This email.
Go back here, and I have four images.
Oh,
there it is. Okay.
Yeah,
there we
okay.
go.
So those are the three source images, and these are from the two on the ends are from Goldfield in Nevada, and the one on the left is a subway entrance that's sitting in a field behind a firehouse, and the one on the right is a patio of this decrepit building, and then the one in the middle is from the International Car Forest, from the inside of a van.
And then you fed these three images into Midjourney Blend? Okay.
Yeah, with no prompting or anything, and it spat out this
For some reason, this file's
without
really small, so it got squished.
oh
So it's
That is such a cool area.
yeah it's fast.
so it creates this little spooky thing all on its own.
It did not
Yeah,
create the
right.
spooky thing on its
okay.
own. It created the space. It
I see.
created the room, the hallway, and there was a door at the end of the hallway, and it was just kind of.
Let me go back here
I
again.
didn't know where it was leading, so I thought, okay, this is ghost town photos.
Uh-huh.
We'll just stick an apparition in there. So, it's kind of stupid, but it was. I figured just
That's cool.
ghost town thing.
I love the way it figured out the graffiti on the wall.
Yeah. And it took some of the lighting from the panels in the both of the
Yeah.
the subway
Is that
station and the other one.
Graffiti? Or did it make its own graffiti?
Made its own.
It made its own.
Yeah, this I don't see that anywhere in this one.
Yeah, I don't see that anywhere. That's wild.
Oftentimes what Midjourney will do is it will recognize graffiti and it will go through its database of graffiti and create something that it somehow knows that tag creates this kind of style, and it doesn't reference the original necessarily. It will go find similar things and generate them.
Amazing.
So you don't have a lot of control like you do with Photoshop with that percentage fill. You don't have that with Midjourney, at least yet.
So looks like it didn't use any of the arches.
Right, I was surprised. I was looking at, so what it did on that one, it kind of mimicked the ceiling. It kind of blended those two ceilings together because it created the squares, but it still has kind of the boards. Interesting. Yeah, it's weird to look at the two images and try to figure out, okay, so what did it use here? What didn't it use there? I mean, again, it's being informed by the content, not that it's actually copying and pasting, which is, I think this is also, I think the blend function is one of those things that really kind of points to the idea about how this thing works, in the sense that I can put these three images into the program, and even then it's not copying anything directly from the images that I've put in there. It's just informing it, to use this information to create something from. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just curious how it uses all these different elements, and none of them are really the original thing. And
so again, what did you do to create the figure?
Oh, I did that in Photoshop generative fill, and I just used the word apparition, and I just outlined the end of the hall, and I had to go in and mask out some of the stuff so that it was floating, and it was just kind of roughed in. I would, if I was serious about it, I'd make the back of the hallway darker and recess it back in there or something.
Yeah. All right.
And where did those shadows come from?
From this one.
They don't match
right?
up.
So it figured out these shadows on the ground there.
Saw that light coming through the window and putting the shadows on the ground, and I mean, they're really not, they're wrong, obviously. But it kind of looks like the figure is trying to walk on the rails or something.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's wild.
This is the winner for me tonight. I love this idea.
So are the hands part of the AI?
Nothing in here is, other than the image on the screen, right?
Well,
but it's not.
Yes.
Yeah, the image on the screen is just an AI image on a screen, but not.
But if you look at her hands, her fingers are crossed, and I wanted to do that with my own hand. I shot it several times straight on because I was trying to get in there and get my hands on and get my head out of the way. And
So those are your hands that you're trying to mimic what
Right.
she's doing. with the crossed fingers and all that.
Right.
Yep.
I think that's great.
I think your real hands are AI, Greg.
Yep.
That's just
And-
great.
Artificial
don't-
index fingers.
Fingers don't cross like that when they're typing.
No.
Wow. Very cool. All right, let's jump over to
Mocking.
Judy.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta unzip these guys.
No, when you mentioned this idea the other day, Judy, I was trying to do something with Japanese cut paper today, both with Midjourney and Photoshop, and trying to get an egret photo
Oh,
of mine to
did it
do
work?
that. I had nothing. There were a couple of things that were kind of illustrative, but nothing like I wanted.
Well, some of it I used a reference picture, and some of it I just used prompts. So, and
Uh-huh.
some of it was in Firefly, and some of it was in Photoshop. So that's the reference picture.
And so you found these online?
The top one that's the reference
okay.
picture I found online.
Okay.
And then the two on the bottom are the ones that two of the ones that I created using the prompt, rearing horses in Japanese paper cut style, monochrome,
Huh.
but with the reference image. So the horses are completely different,
Right.
but the style is really
Yeah. It nailed the style.
That's cool.
And this was Firefly?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty
That might-
nice.
So I
Maybe
was
the best
pretty
I've
happy
seen
with
out of
that.
Firefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that having a good
Kirigami.
reference image really helps. But the problem is, I want to apply this to one of my own
Right.
horses, images, and because this is like total AI. So I ended up having to go back to Photoshop. Well, so back still in Firefly. Here's some with just prompt.
Mm-hmm.
The horse in a. So I learned that kirigami is the paper cutting, and
It didn't do a very good job.
Firefly did not understand
Yeah,
what that
no.
meant, but it did understand. So I had to say paper cutting or paper cut style, Japanese paper cut, or so the first three.
You know what's interesting? Let
are
me
the
ask you this.
kirigami.
So, was the reference image was it one of the ones already in Firefly, or did you bring one in yourself?
No, I brought one. That's
Okay.
why I brought one in.
So this is
myself.
interesting
It's like,
because
this is what I saw.
Firefly or Adobe is they've maintained the bragging rights that they are only using images from their stock collection, and so there's no rights that they've broke anybody copyright issues, and
No,
but
yeah.
now you're allowed to bring in random images that are from
Right.
people's images on the internet.
Well, they don't know that it's. I doctored this one up. I mean, I took the logo out, and it was really cut. It was really cropped, so I extended it, and the tail was like cut in half, so I had to add tail to it. But other than that, it's definitely not my image.
So Photoshop,
it's this.
you extended the canvas and it filled in the tail. So you used Photoshop to create the reference image in a sense. Started with a
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was just a screenshot on, that showed up on my
Yeah.
Facebook page or something.
And then
So then,
Kaz, yeah.
well, before
I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to get back to what you said, Larry, that they're bragging that they're only using their images. And that still goes along with what they're doing here, because they've obviously got some images of Japanese kirigami. And they're, when you bring in this kirigami, it's referencing back to the ones they've already got and using those to build this new
I
image.
suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and it added all this other, the foliage and
Yeah.
made one of them into a Pegasus.
Yeah, yeah, right. With the
And,
wings.
you know,
All right. Adobe Firefly, no
Um,
reference image.
no reference image, just the scrimshaw carving texture. Because at first I thought scrimshaw was, you know, what you see on ivory,
Yeah.
but scrimshaw is actually, you can cut into wood. So these were very simple
Uh-huh.
scrimshaw technique. And so it was basically the same rearing horse idea. No, yeah, no, go back before we get to this one. This is a different set. Go back up to the ivory one.
To which one?
Oh, what happened. That's all that came out of that one. Ooh.
Yeah, I unzipped. So there's 7. There's 11.
Oh, okay. Well,
Three,
there were some other pages
4.
that
Oh, here
that
they
had
put them in
ivory.
a different order.
Oh,
they those?
right. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, it's these. So this one, I had the
Wow.
a mask. So I took the reference image and I masked it. So this was done in Photoshop with generative fill with the prompt scrimshaw ivory.
Wow.
So
Oh.
it basically outlined the same horse,
Right.
but
Yeah, we talked
changed it.
about that on a Monday morning where to force the new or to force generative fill to create basically the same shape from the horse, if you select the actual object itself and then start adding in the prompts, then the shape remains pretty close. I mean, these look very close to the same. Anyhow, it maintains
they're
the actual shape, so you don't get a whole new horse. I'd forgotten
Right.
we did that. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got 4 different, the basic outline, like you said, is pretty much the same, but the patterns are different. So it wasn't a cutout.
Yeah.
It was whatever it considers scrimshaw ivory.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. All right, where do we go from
So that
here?
was fun. Okay. All right. So then I said I need to have my own horse.
Right.
So go, yeah, we'll go down to the original image. Yeah, that one. So I was at the Ren Fair. This is a horrible picture, but I like the horse. And so I made my own cutout of, so the second one, I filled in, I masked the horse and rider and put a helmet on her. I did a bunch of different helmets and picked that one. So I just covered the whole thing with green grass. That was just generative fill grass
Wow.
or something. Yeah, then I cut it out. Well, yeah, so, no, go back to keep going up. To keep going. Okay, yeah, that panel of all the different choices I had. So
Uh-huh.
I just selected the whole image and experimented with Japanese paper cutting as part of but at different percentages of fill.
Gen fill says 15%, 20, 35, 40, 60. Wow.
But there's different styles. This is the one I ended up with. But if you go to the top of it,
To the top of this panel?
of the whole the top left, that was like a scrimshaw, or just paper cutting, really simple. At
This one.
60%, it was mostly paper.
Uh-huh.
Upper left. Yeah. I mean, there was no design really in it. It was just like you cut out an outline pretty much. And then, so that was at 60, and then the next one is 40. it got a little bit more designy. And then the next one,
35.
these were all paper.
All right. And then the next row.
And yeah, then the next row, I added, just instead of just paper cutting, I added origami. So
Like Japanese paper cutting
it made
dash
more,
origami.
yes, so you get more
Yeah,
3D
yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
right.
look.
So wait, the first one is 40%, 35.
Yeah,
And
in
20.
the combination cutting,
Huh.
paper cutting / origami.
Mhm. And then same prompt,
So
but
these
at
are just
15%.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
same prompt, 15%, totally different design. Of course, you never get the same thing twice. Oh, and I had added a tail to the horse and moved its ears forward and stuff. So this is the one I ended up with. Same 15%, but a different design.
All right.
So then,
So then,
now I took a picture from the park by my house, which would be
that.
yeah, that one. And, processed it a little bit, but and then I did the paper origami style of the park.
That's interesting that it changed the depth of field so that all of this is soft focus, but all right.
Yeah.
And then down here you've
and I
outlined
did,
the horse.
Now I've outlined the horse and I put him in the forest, and then so there's my final.
And where'd all the dappled light come from?
Oh yeah, so that was cool. See the horse's butt cheek, right there. I circled that.
Oh, it's this
For
detail in
texture,
here.
and then I just saw that
very
detail,
cool.
and then I just blew it the heck up.
Yeah.
Filled it, cloned it in different places, but stretched it out so it would fit as the because I wanted it to match in texture and stuff. So, so anyway, that's how I did that.
So there.
Oh, with a blending mode, yeah. So that was a blending mode of overlay, I think.
Wow, that's a long trip to get to here.
Yeah.
But I love the idea, right? I mean, it's like, and so this. I mean, get to me. I go, okay, this is less photographic than most everything else, but again, it's just really creative.
But it's my horse.
Yeah, but it's really creative how you got to here, right? And it's like this. This has to account for something, and this is like one of the.
Now I can legally claim that it's 80% my photographs.
There you go. So in the presentation,
so I was thinking of entering this.
In the presentation last night, I talked about this idea that that we might not have a name for everything that we're doing or whatever, but you can't just put out a blatant like no AI. So this would not be a typical thing that I would expect to even see like in a photo exhibit at all, because again, if it walks like a duck, this one's not walking like a duck.
Yeah.
But there are other places where, I mean, again, I didn't read the rules about what was downstairs. Did you, Greg? Did they have, what was their AI?
No, I haven't.
I'd like to find out what they put into their rules for the downstairs fine art exhibit, because this would be something I would go, okay, so this could end up into the fine art exhibit.
It's not a painting, so where does it go?
Well, but the fine art exhibit is full of stuff. I mean, and they actually have a digital category now too, because they've had it for several years already. So there were a lot of people, like Beverly Brock has put a lot of her pieces in the downstairs space. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a question for Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You showed me, I think last year on your phone, a beautiful paper cutting. Was that in Mid-Journey? You don't remember?
No.
I don't remember what the subject was, but it was really beautiful. Then it was a paper cutting of some kind.
I'm gonna look through my.
Okay, well, if you don't remember, that's okay.
Yeah,
But it was probably Mid-Journey.
Yeah.
Because I certainly haven't done anything like that. I've gotten a bunch of things that were like ivory, scrimshaw kind of patterns and such out of Mid-Journey. Not asking for them, just as a.
This was all white.
Yeah, I don't.
Did you do it on one of your flowers?
I don't recall.
That just means
I've made
I
so
was gonna
many
say that
thousands
just
of
that just
images.
means that Greg has generated too many thousands of images to recall. All right. I think is that everything that everybody sent to me? Am I missing anybody? All right.
Oh, Larry, are you going to do a prompt?
Oh yeah. So did anybody type? Nobody typed anything in, did they? No. So if anybody has, I'll put it this way. I'll give you 2 days because tomorrow. So it won't be on the video because I'll process the video and it'll go out. But I'll still email it to everybody. So if anybody who's left online tonight has any idea for a prompt, you know what I should do? I should just elect Greg to come up with a prompt because he has the most creative prompts. What was the goose one that you did before?
Oh, it was a short. Let's see, a puce moose and a chartreuse goose let loose with an obtuse mongoose.
Oh, good grief.
I love it.
We could just use that one.
Anyhow, yeah. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, but I think that would be great. So if anybody wants to just send me an email with a few prompts, I'll pick one out of that group. Or I may even just jump into Midjourney and see if I can find somebody's prompt there that sounds interesting to kind of borrow from. But I think it'll be fun. I love, I mean, actually, everything that, like what Judy did here, this is kind of like what I think that challenge thing could be all about. And part of it, I think when I brought up the idea of the challenge in one of the workshops, well, in my compositing workshop that I do, I give everybody a folder with, I don't know, about 75 or 100 images in there. And I tell everybody to take those images, take 3 weeks or whatever we do at the end of the workshop, take 3 weeks with those images and composite as many pieces as you want to do, create as many as you want, one or more, and send them to me. And then after the workshop was over, 3 weeks later, we got back online and we went through and looked at what everybody had created from those stock photos that were in the folder. And there wasn't two of them that were even remotely close to each other. And I always loved that idea that, when you tell somebody that, okay, you're going to be one of a group of people who are going to interpret this, I think people push themselves harder to go, oh, well, everybody else is going to do this, so I'm going to really go at it and do this. And this thought came to me, I go, wouldn't that really be the great way to approach every piece of work that we do? I'm really going to go at this, and I'm really going to push this thing as far as I can go. But I think this example that Judy went through here is such a great example about taking something, have this idea to start with, and it just kind of keeps rolling and changing and morphing and ends up becoming this thing. I mean, it's incredible. So I'm hoping that that's kind of what we can get going with the idea of this. We'll call it the prompt challenge, and see where it goes. I mean, like you can see even just by Judy's thing, adding in this kirigami idea into any prompt. There's, and I'm gonna have to find this. There's a YouTube channel of this person, and I think they use AI to narrate. So they might have typed everything in, but they're using this voice to do the. And I think I subscribe to their channel. My subscription list is getting so long on the on YouTube channel when I go to look for anything. But I do know if they're in alphabetical order. It's weird on the TV. It comes up different than this. Let's see, as a list. There we go. That still didn't work. So let me see if I can do this. THE Why? No, it's not doing. It doesn't come up with a. Anyhow, they have this channel where this person puts in, and they'll talk about like this. They'll use this kirigami as a reference, and they will use the same words, the same prompt, just rearing horse, and then start putting in kirigami as a source, psychedelic as so they're just adding in all these stylized words. And some of these videos are like almost, and I have a list of them I've written down. Some of them are like 50 to 100 different styles that they came up with, different styles of art. And some of them you kind of go, what is, I've never heard of that style. Like if somebody said kirigami, I wouldn't go, oh yeah, that's a Japanese paper cutting. I had no idea that that's what they would call that.
Well, yeah, I learned that as a new term, and apparently Firefly didn't really recognize that
Interesting.
term.
Yeah. And so that,
So I had to change. I just had to swap it out for Japanese paper cut, and as soon as I did that, that's when it recognized it.
right. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So, and I was wondering also, I'll just open this image, if, because again, back to, you're talking about Firefly, back to Tony Kuiper's panel, and if you hit the inspiration, if you go into styles, I thought I remember, there is something in here of cut paper. Where's it? Trompe
Yeah, that's what I noticed
yeah,
when you were going through it.
optical,
It's right there in the middle
under C.
in orange.
C, no.
Paper art under
Under
material.
material.
Oh, under materials. Here we are.
Materials.
Okay. Yeah, cut. Oh, I have it highlighted. Cut paper art. Interesting.
Yeah, apply that to Joan's room.
Yeah.
She could have an origami room.
There you go.
Oh, let's get rid of the red door handle. Let's go Control A, and let's go with 65%. Cut paper art. Generate. It was funny yesterday when I did my presentation. I was showing in one of my images that I have. I needed to generate some fire, and sometimes it didn't even match the room at all. Boy, that's
There you go,
pretty
Joan.
literal. All right,
Is this a put it together yourself room?
let's try this. Now I'm curious, so I'm going to drop it down to the 20%.
Is what? Yeah, you got to go 20.
Because
Yeah,
that's the same thing with painting. It seems to not do a great job. But anyhow, I was saying I wanted to generate some fire, and there's some taboo things, that some of the AI generators won't generate violence and stuff. And so fire was a weird thing that I couldn't get it to do. I had a boat that I wanted to be on fire. So I ended up going into, did I not hit generate? Oh, I needed my prompt. Cut paper. It disappeared. I'm gonna leave off art. Cut paper style. And so, so I was saying, so I ended up using. There's a filter in Photoshop. It's a fire filter, and it's been there for the longest time, and nothing. So no cut paper. Anyhow, the interesting thing is like, so under filter and render and flame, that's what it is. And the way that it works is you actually have to start with a pen tool, and you have to create a path. You can shape it any shape you want, and we'll just call that a path. And then now if I go to filter, render. Oh, it still doesn't want to do it. Didn't really generate a path. I'm doing something wrong here. Path. Let me be on the background image here. Selection, path. It says path. Filter, usually to, where's my paths? That's what I don't have open. Window, paths. All right, there's my work path. So if I load, oh, that's weird. All right, now it's just screwing with me. So I'm not gonna be able to replicate it now.
Yeah,
Go
Larry, did you have to do that? You have to make a new
Empty
layer,
pixel layer.
an empty
That's the
layer,
trick.
and do
There
it
you
on.
go. All right, now let's try it. See if it'll actually
Yeah.
do it. Filter.
Joan doesn't
Render.
mind us
There we
burning
go.
down
It
her
takes a
house.
village. All right. So in here, here's the render flames, and you can go in. You can say one flame along path, and then you have all of these options in here. So I can say 2 flames, flame length. I can alter the flame length, the shape. It's just following my path more or less. The width, that won't change. Interval of the doesn't seem to alter it much. And so anyhow, you say okay, and you can just hit randomize. So anyhow, it'll render a flame, right? So now I can clear the path, and that's on its own layer, and I can let's set the chair on fire. So anyhow. When I remembered this, I'm going, okay, so this is these are not your pixels. They don't even relate to your image at all. And it's been in there forever. But until AI came along and made everybody go, whoa, wait a minute. We don't want you to be using that tool, or we don't want you to use it in a specific way, or we don't want AI images in the fair. It's like these things have been here before for a long time. And this was never, and in fact, I know the thing that reminded me of it was I knew somebody who they had a nighttime image with a campfire in it, and it was a real long exposure. So the fire was really, just blurred, it was like just this glow of color. And he said, but I actually want to see the flames in there. So he went in and built the flames using the render flame thing in Photoshop and put it into the fire pit. And it looked very natural. And nobody asked, where did the flames come from? It just looked like it was there. There was no rule that said you couldn't use this render flame thing, yet they weren't his pixels, which was kind of the discussion going around at the time. So the idea that there are a lot of things already that are a part of Photoshop that does things like this. I mean, the biggest one, I think that's the craziest one, are the neural filters. Those are all 100% AI generated. They're not your pixels. You can turn a spring scene into a winter scene and into day to night and all that kind of stuff. And the neural filters have been there for a long time too, and there was no rule about not being able to use those. But somehow, the AI thing set off the rule committee to figure out we got to do something about that. So there's still not, anything that says, hey, you can't, set your chair on fire artificially using the flame thing, even though it didn't come out of your camera. So I'm still in that boat of going, I don't know. I don't know what we want to allow, disallow. It's definitely, so I'm trying to fill that room that Greg and those people are going to do the AI discussion on at the fair. What's the date of it, Greg?
July 5th.
July 5th.
From 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
More like midnight, 4 till midnight.
Yeah.
The conversation can take longer than that. Anyhow, I encourage everybody to go to the fairgrounds, be a part of the discussion. I think it's important that as many as the photo community that we can get there to have the conversation, to talk about it. I just think that's right now it's a real important discussion. So I'd encourage everybody to be there at the fairgrounds for that. All right, thanks everybody.
Absolutely.
Where is it?
It's at the San Diego Fairgrounds on July 5th, and you said 4 o'clock.
Well, this was fun. Thank you,
All
Larry,
right.
for
Yeah.
We are
you
over
go.
time, but
Yeah.
we always
Thanks.
do. Thanks a lot for hanging out.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
All right.
Larry.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming to DPX-AI tonight. And until we see each other next month, stay creative, be inspired, and be an inspiration to others.